Hey everybody, you're watching CAD Roll Hunter. I have some nickels and some dimes. These didn't come from the bank, these came from an estate. So I'm really interested to find out what is in here. Do we have treasure that somebody's been holding on to for a long time? Let's find out. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching my channel CAD Roll Hunter. I picked up a tote full of stuff. It included some pennies, some nickels and dimes that didn't come from the bank. They came from an antique dealer who got them out of an estate purchase. And I wanted to look at these. I'll look at the pennies in another video, but today I want to look at these nickels and dimes to see if there might be anything interesting. Normally, you can find some old and good stuff when you get pennies from the bank, but when they come from somebody's home, particularly from an estate sale, it's hard to know how long they've been around and what might be in there. They may or may not be part of a collection. They could just be pocket change. Who knows? But we've got these plastic wrappers, and so I don't really see any obvious edges on the nickels necessarily. With these, you could usually see if there was like a US Silver War nickel or lots of 12-sided nickels. I don't see that, but you never know. And these dimes, I can certainly see there's some Americans. I can also see there's a roll that's not totally full, but you just never know. So I want to get in here and see, is there some treasure, something older? Is there silver in here maybe? That would be awesome. Let's get into the first roll. Let's start with the nickels and see what's in here. We're in roll number one. We've got 20 rolls of nickels here, and we've got our first 100% nickel composed nickel from 1981. So 81 and earlier are 100% nickel. And we're going to set that aside because right now it's worth double face value pretty much in the nickel content. So I hold on to that. There's no real market to sell nickel bullion just yet, but you never know. If nickel spikes, this could be worth a fortune. Who knows? But I'm going to hold on to it for now. There's really no harm in that. And we're finding are some, we've got mid-2000s, and this one's going to be another nickel-composed one. I could see that, 1966. So we got some older stuff, hoping we might find some laureate portrait, maybe some King George VI or King George V would be incredible. I found a few nickels from 2007 and 2008, and you can see this one. This 2007 looks gorgeous. It appears to be completely uncirculated, brand new. I might even set that one aside. I often don't keep nickels from that vintage, but I suspect that these rolls might be around 2008. They might not be any newer than that. So there might be some goodies in here, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So we're already doing pretty well for 100% nickel in this first roll, and there's a lot of cupro nickel or copper nickel. That's what the nickels were made of from 82 until around 2000. I'm bringing you in because we've got a 1990. We want to check this one under the scope to see if we have one of my favorite varieties, the Bare Belly. And we do. And it's been a while since I found one. Check that out. That is awesome. This is an over-polished die, most likely, that basically took all the detail off the high point of the die. And look at that. We just see these striations here where we should see lots of fur. And I'll grab, here is a 1998 that's right behind it. It should show what all the fur should look like. And you can see that's what a normal one would look like. But we got the Bare Belly Beaver. Look at that in all of its bare belly glory. Awesome. Got a few Americans in roll number two, a couple from 91 and one from 2000, so nothing pretty old. And we've now found our newest coin in the bunch here has been a 2009. So that might be so far the year that at least this roll might have been wrapped up in. Same roll, we got another 1990 to check. I already saw it though. This one is full fur. This is not the Bare Belly. Roll number three, and that is a really nice looking 1995. I rarely pull aside these ones from the 90s, unless it's got a bare belly on it, because they're usually not in great shape. And this one looks to be another one right behind it. I wonder if we've got a bunch of 95s in here. Roll number three, there's a really nice looking 1992 US, but have a peek at what I spy just behind it. I didn't see it when I rolled it down. We're gonna have a laureate portrait with a 12-sided edge. This one is a 1961. Sweet. I threw a 1996 under the scope. It gives us a chance to look for some varieties. This one here is the Far 6. A little harder to get than the Near 6. Basically, there's more space between the 6 and the D. One you want to look for is the attached 6, where there's actually a die chip that connects the D and the 6. I found it here before on a hunt. It's a really cool one to look for. And that's one I actually got graded by ICCS because not only did it have the die chip, it also had what's known as the crown on beaver. There was a die clash all along the coin here that showed the impression of the queen's jeweled crown above the beaver, and it is really, really striking. So always ones I'm looking out for. This is the Far 6. And just at the back, another laureate portrait with the 12-sided edge. This one's a 1960. Well, I certainly don't want to jinx it, but we're only 3 rolls in, and we're like a third of a cup of nickel, which is really, really good. Roll number 6, we've got another laureate portrait here, and this is either going to be 1963 or 1964. We know that because it's the only 2-year stretch where the nickels with the laureate portrait were round and didn't have the 12-sided edge. And I think I see another one a little further back. The legend just looks a little bit different. We'll flip this guy over and see what it is. It's a 1964. We can check for the extra water line. Throw it up on there and see. And it is not. It would have a die crack that looks like an extra water line by the initials of the designer here. And we don't see that. But we'll take a peek and see what this other one is that I saw back here. And it's definitely a laureate portrait. That one looks pretty nice. It is another 64. We may as well scope that one too. And that one is also just the normal garden variety 64. More of the same in roll number 7. And it's another 1964. And again, I don't see the extra water line. It's got a little bit of the Ring of Death on it though. Same roll, there's a US nickel, and it looks really slick. And I wonder if this might be an oldie. It doesn't have a mint mark to the right of Monticello. But it is an oldie, a 1939. Let's throw this one under the scope. Wow, definitely a 1939. I don't know if I've actually found a 30s Jefferson nickel. I'd have to look back in my records. That is really, really cool. It does not have a mint mark to the right of Monticello, so it is out of Philadelphia. That is pretty sweet. 1939, our oldest coin of the hunt. This is roll number 9, and there is a 12-sided edge in here. This roll has been taped because I think the end is just gone. I'm going to have to just dig around and see if I can grab it. There we go. And see what this is. It is another 1960. We got ourselves another 1964. We're not even halfway through these 20 rolls of nickels, but we are over halfway full in the nickel cup. That is awesome. Roll 10, and there is another 12-sided edge here. What are we going to have? It's Elizabeth once again. Another 1961. I got another 1990 under the scope, and I think this one might be what we would consider the earliest stage of the bare belly. So this was something that progressed over time as this die was being used and got polished. And you can see there's a lack of detail here, and just over here, it's minimal, but it differs for sure from the full detail. So I think what we've got here is the early stage bare belly on a 1990. Still in that roll, and this is not a Canadian nickel. That pineapple is not the official fruit of Canada. That is for sure. Check that out. It is from the Bahamas, 2004. We got a foreign coin. We got a Bahamian nickel in our hunt. Awesome. We're going to find a beauty here, and this might be one to check against the album. Check that one out. This one here from 1987. That's a keeper. Beautiful. Just a little further back, there is our first 1963. And we didn't have to wait too long. This is just 2 coins back. This is another 1963. Roll number 11 is going to give us our 5th 1964, and no extra water line on this one either. Here's another 1996, and you can see here that that 6 is quite a bit closer to the D than the other one we had looked at. Here's a nice looking 2000. You got to flip these guys over when you get them because some of them have this P composition mark. They are lower mintage. They are multiply plated steel. This was the transition year where it went from cupro nickel to multiply plated steel. And this is the one you want to look for with the P on the bottom. It's not a mint mark. It's actually a composition mark. Just laid out roll number 13 here, and we've got another oldie here. It's another laureate portrait. And it's our first from the 50s, a 1959. Same roll, another one here. That's the 64. Roll number 14. What do we got this time? 1962. This is the first 62 we've actually found here. I put it under the scope because there is a double date to look for. We can actually see some doubling below the 2 here. And there might be, if I just rotate it around a bit, these dates may have been re-engraved. You can definitely see doubling there. I'll set this one aside. I think the true doubled date 1962 has doubling on much of the date, but this one certainly has that doubling at the base of the 2, which is cool. Same roll, yet another one, either 63 or 64. This one is another 1964. We found, I think, 7 of them, 6 of them so far. A lot, anyway. So I have to say, this is completely unexpected. This next roll, there is a 2024, and I dropped it. 2024 King Charles III. And so I'm not sure what's happened. There's another one right behind it too. So this might have just been put together with a bunch of new ones as well. Like that is just been issued. That's very strange. This one looks to have some more newer ones in it, but the rest of these rolls seem to still have a lot of old edges. So not sure what that means, but that's what you get coin roll hunting. Roll number 17 of the nickels here, and we're going to have another find because I saw another 12-sided edge. This one is another 1960. Here's one pretty circulated. Another 1963. We still have 2 rolls of nickels to go, and I don't think this nickel cup is going to be able to take much more. It is full over the brim. We'll see what we can do. I might have to get another one out, but just to give you a sense of what we're looking at here, these rolls have all been like this, all 80s and 90s. Some nice coins here that I don't see all the time, and then we get our nickel when we get into the 70s, of course. So I'm just separating them aside and then tossing every once in a while. There's one from the 60s into the nickel cups. So there's a 1980, 85. So you can see we're getting lots of old stuff from the 80s and 90s and the 60s. And there's a 1990. We'll throw this under the scope. I've scoped a whole whack of these. And we've only found those 2 that have the bare belly. This one here, I wouldn't say qualifies at all. Last roll, and this 1996 here is just stunning. I don't know if you can actually quite see that, but it just looks gorgeous. Check that out, 20 rolls, and that nickel cup is absolutely full. We're going to switch gears. At the end, we'll go over everything that we found, but I'm excited to get into the dimes. I know we don't have a lot here, but because we got so many things from the 60s, particularly these laureate portrait years, it just makes me wonder if these were held onto by someone and were from the same vintage, we could get some silver. Anything from 68 and earlier could be silver. I say could be because 1968 could be nickel or silver, but anything from 67 or earlier would definitely be silver, and we've got some chances, so I want to dig in here and see, can we find some silver? So I'm not surprised, but I wonder if we're dealing with the same sort of thing. We got a couple from the 80s here, and a really nice looking 1999. We want to flip it over and see if it has the P composition mark. It doesn't. But we might be dealing with a bunch of 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe some silver 60s. We'll see. Well, there's something from the 60s, a 1969 Denver minted dime. Now, in Canadian dimes, there's not quite as much to look for. There's the 1970, which is a low mint. That's a key date in dimes. There's a 1998 that was minted in Winnipeg that would have the W mint mark below the Queen's effigy. Otherwise, we're really just hoping for silver, and if not silver, then if we can find anything that is in really, really nice condition, like these 2 1999s I pulled aside here, then we might be finding something good. And there is, I see, another American. It's not going to be old this time. It's from the 90s. Well, there's a 1968 with the Ring of Death. We want to check it with the magnet, and we can confirm it is made of nickel. It's magnetic, so it's not the silver one that we'd be looking for. But of course, we're not going to set aside the nickel in dimes because the nickel isn't actually worth 10 cents. So that's why we keep it in the nickels, because the face value of the coin is less than the bullion value of the nickel. That's not the case for dimes. This is roll number 6, and it's much the same thing. The newest coin so far, again, has been 2009, and some of those later ones, like here's a 2006 that's just gorgeous. So I've been pulling aside some of the nicer ones here, just a few of them, and we've got maybe 6 or 7 US. No silver just yet. I found a few 1968, so can we get something just a little bit older, a little bit more silvery? Roll number 8, and check out this 1988. That is pretty nice. It's got a little bit of film on it, but doesn't really have any circulation wear. So we're down to our last roll of dimes here. It's the only one that wasn't in these plastic rollers. And you can see I've rolled them all back up here so I can take them back to the bank. So we don't know what's in here. We can't easily see the edges, so I'm just hopeful there's going to be a gem in here. We'll find out in a second. And I figure we can find out together here what exactly is in this. This is just a paper roller that just, they're really hard to use actually, because you got to line them all up. This paper looks discolored. Things look like they've been here for a long time. But we'll find out. And it really just looks like more of the same. Shouldn't be surprising. So this randomly pulled out one is also from the 90s. It's a 1999. Well, we'll see if there's anything in here at all. And so far, everything else in here has been from the 60s, the 70s, or 80s, and I should say 68 nickel and later. But we're not finding any more from the 90s. Well, maybe until this one right here. But we've got a lot of old stuff here, but not old enough to be silver. All right, well, I was hoping that we were going to get some silver. That just wasn't going to be the case, though. In the dimes, we got 12 from the US. Got a bunch of really nice ones from the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s that I'm going to hold on to that were in great shape. The nickels was another story altogether. We got some great stuff in here, and we got tons of nickel in the nickel cup. It is almost overflowing. We got 9 US nickels, including this really nice 1992 Philadelphia on the right, and our oldest coin of the hunt, a 1939 Philadelphia, really cool. We got a foreign. We got this 5 cents from 2004 from the Bahamas, and then we found some laureate portrait. We got one from the 50s, and we got 17 from the 60s, including a 62 that's got some doubling on the date. No extra waterline in the 1964s, though, unfortunately. And in other finds, we got a low mint 2000 P. We got 2 1990 bare bellies, some of my favorites. The one on the left is pretty significant. The one on the right is probably a very early stage. We got a bunch of really nice ones, 80s, 90s, 2000s. This 96 is just brilliant, awesome. And in a hunt with lots and lots of old stuff, really surprisingly, we got some 2023 and 2024s. There were just some newer ones in one particular roll, and we got some of those. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this hunt of old nickels and dimes. We were looking for treasure, and I think we found some good stuff. I always appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter, go ahead and hit that button, subscribe. You won't regret it. I think you'll like it. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you again next time.
The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.